Hello guys, you're welcome. Thank you so much for clicking. Hope you guys are doing great.
I promise you that, after listening to the powerful speech of this Catholic priest, your view about Islam and Muslims will completely change. In an interview with Belgian journalist Michel Collomb, Father Elias Zalawi began by telling a truth about Israel that not many people dare to tell in the Western media. He was answering the following question about the situation in Syria. The Syrian war is a war that has left hundreds of thousands of dead, hundreds of thousands wounded, and tens of thousands missing. So why did all this happen? What is your assessment of the situation?
Le pourquoi est trop grave pour le dire, mais je vais le dire.
The reason for this war is too serious to say, but I will say it. For Israel, it is about surviving an Arab world that must be destroyed at all costs. And for the West, it is about repairing its guilt complex regarding the anti-Semitism that it has cultivated for 1700 years in the West and at the time when Israel was created on Palestinian territory. Therefore, the West must repair this guilt complex by doing anything that can be offered to Israel. And the best thing that Israel wants is the total destruction of the Arab world. This strategy for dividing the Middle East countries was clearly written by an Israeli strategist called Oded Yinon in a report published in an Israeli magazine called Kivunim in 1982. The title of the report was Our Strategy for Israel in the 1980s.
According to the priest, the sufferings that we see today in the world are a direct consequence of the hypocrisy of the West and its passion to dominate the Arab countries and the world in general. Priest Zalawi states that the reason why the West does everything to dominate the Middle East is first and foremost for the benefit of Israel, and then to plunder energy resources of these countries.
L'Occident, excusez-moi le mot, est pourri.
Excuse me, the term, the West is rotten. Rotten by its history, rotten by its anti-Semitism, which has nothing to do with the gospel or Christ. It is also rotten by its passion for dominating the world. It does not want to abandon this passion that it has cultivated and practiced with fierce savagery for 500 years. Remember the words of Régis Debray when he said, "The West has taken off its colonial helmet, but its head remains colonial."
So, Father, you're telling us that the root of Middle East's disaster is its oil?
Exactly, but not only oil. There is oil, but there is also the expansion of Western domination, especially for the benefit of Israel. But they also want to take control of the energy resources of the entire Middle East, which are enormous. The West has never been humanitarian. It is just against everything that is human, and this is visible today more than ever.
The priest also spoke about one of the most discussed topics in the Western media today, Islam. In fact, since the collapse of the Soviet Union and communism, the Western perspective of Islam has increasingly become negative. Influential Western circles began to consider Islam and Muslims the main threat to the Western-dominated world hegemony. They started to create in people a fear of Islam and Muslims, portraying them as dangerous. The same way they considered fascism or communism a threat to their way of life in the past. Nowadays they claim the same thing for Islam. Is Islam and Muslims really dangerous? Father Zalawi has answered this question.
Precisely yesterday I quoted 3 Jewish and Israeli historians to say to Westerners, here are those who are supposed to be our enemies and what they say about what Islam has been for them for hundreds of years. If Islam had been as violent as it is now claimed, no Christian or Jew would have survived the Muslim conquest. In fact, Muslims had the genius from their first conquest to open collaboration with the conquered peoples, and they succeeded to do something that no conqueror has ever succeeded to do. And until now, Islam has preserved this conviviality with people. I am a priest from Damascus. I was born in Damascus in 1932, and I lived in a Christian and Muslim environment. I grew up in this environment, and I assure you that in my life as a priest, I get immense joy from the company of Muslims, their friendship and their support. And what I am saying are not just words, because I have written all this in a book in Arabic, and I'm planning to translate it into English and French to make people understand what Islam really is. Islam is a religion of peace that Muslims practice with great respect. And when they see in front of them a man who respects them, I assure you that they surpass him in respect, love and service.
En respect et en amour et en service.
Ici, en Europe, on a aussi...
The West is one of the societies where we have a lot of Christians and Muslims. Overall, things are going well, but we are seeing a strong rise in Islamophobia and a feeling of fear towards Muslims who are considered terrorists. But you are telling us that Europe should rather take lessons from Muslim countries. Is that what you are trying to say?
Hier, j'ai dit dans mon topo.
Yesterday I said in my presentation that Islam presented in the West has nothing to do with the real Islam. You Westerners have unfortunately had the genius to create a Muslim society within your Western societies, a society which is closed in on itself. You have not given Muslims the opportunity to integrate, to live with you as part of you. You have let them do the work that your fellow citizens were unwilling to do, and over time, these Muslim societies, closed in on themselves, weighed down by an inferiority complex, have become a time bomb. And the Western term Muslim terrorism is a strictly Western fabrication from scratch, and it has never existed in Islam. It's a fabrication that has a lot of impact and has already had an impact on Western societies. The term jihad has also been used to supposedly subdue the Middle East and to reduce it to a region where tribes are killing each other. Their objective is to make sure there is not a single state in the Middle East which is stable. And Islam has never known this kind of instability, even in the most despotic periods. Under the Turkish regime, for example. We have seen terrible upheavals in the Middle East, but the human fabric of relations between Christians, Muslims and Jews has remained the same. Believe me, I am not exaggerating. Go and read historians, and especially Jewish historians, who are supposed to tell the truth today more than ever.
Ils sont censés aujourd'hui dire la vérité plus que jamais.
In fact, when the governments experience crises and find themselves in a disadvantaged position, hatred, alienization and otherization increases. This has been the case recently with the Western world knee-deep in political, social and economic crises. As a result, they hold others responsible and accountable for the problems they face, just like when they blamed Jews in the first half of the 20th century. If they do not face a real threat, Western governments will construct one, or at least the illusion of one. That is why term jihad, which has a different meaning in Islam, has been used by Western politicians and media to vilify Islam and Muslims. This is one of the easiest ways to make Muslims feel guilty and create an inferiority complex in them, and also to find a pretext to assert dominance over governments in the Muslim world. Indeed, the West does not prefer independent governments to manage the Muslim world. Colonial powers want to maintain their direct and indirect control over these countries. Look, for instance, how France in particular has been exploiting the resources of African Muslim countries such as Mali, Niger, Senegal, Chad and others. They want to have control over the Muslim at all cost, because this will determine the global rivalry between the West and others, because whoever controls the Muslim-dominated regions such as the Middle East, North Africa, the Horn of Africa, Central Asia and South Asia will gain the advantage and become superior. That was my brief analysis following the comments made by Father Elias Zalawi. It is really interesting to listen to this priest re-establishing historical facts in a Western society where all values are today flouted. I would be very happy to read your point of view in the comment section below. Thank you for your time. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wow, guys, that's amazing. Coming from a Christian priest, no, a Catholic priest, saying these positive things about Islam is something to be wowed about. He first mentioned it that if truly Muslims are bad people, why is it that some Christians or other religions live comfortable in a Muslim country? That's food for thought. I don't think any Christian or anybody has complained about harassment, terrorism, or whatever, about crime, that Muslims are doing this to them in Muslim country. For instance, Saudi Arabia, I've never heard of any Christian complaining of, or coming on social media to say, oh, this Muslim country has done this to me terribly, has done this to me negatively, or one thing or the other. And it's true, that's a food for thought. I love how he just dissect everything we need to know about Islam, letting us understand that it's just something that they fabricated. There's nothing like terrorism. It's not coming from the Muslim. So if it's not coming from the Muslims, so who are the ones terrorizing the nation, the world, the countries? Who are those people? Why are they dressed in like in a Muslim way? What is their mission? What are they trying to portray out there? That's another food for thought. That was a very brilliant one. I really enjoyed it. Let me know your point of view, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.